Hi, I'm Suki. Welcome to Getting Psychic, where you can listen to me use myself to test the theory that anyone can get psychic. Welcome to Getting Psychic. I am here with a return guest, Vera Takakura. You may remember her from episode 30 about the Galactic Akashic. Welcome, Vera.
Hey, Suki, good to be here.
Why were you wincing?
I don't know. It's just my eyes, I think.
You're
That's why
like,
I look like that.
maybe you don't want to hear me talking about you. How are you?
Good, good. You know, doing the spiritual thing and the 3D thing at the same time.
Yeah, samesies. We both have one foot very much in each realm.
Yeah, I believe that's referred to as bilocation, being in two places at once.
Yeah, I so feel that right now. Last night, speaking of, I was like kind of spinning out because I just relocated my business and expanded it, which really, if I'm honest with myself, just means that I started a whole new business with like the level of work that I have to do for it that just never seems to end. And then I'm communicating with my like handler about the Conscious Life Expo coming up in LA that we're both going to be at. And I was like kind of spiraling like, what am I doing? Like, what did I get myself into? Because at this expo, which is like the largest, what do they call it? Like the largest spiritual expo,
A convention or something like that?
or like they don't say convention. Okay, wait, let me read what they say. It's like it's like the 23rd annual Conscious Life Expo. It's February 7th through 10th. It's been going on for 23 years,
Wow.
presenting cutting edge, life changing information to thousands of attendees in its yearly event held in Los Angeles. So there's everybody from Daryl Anka, who channels Bashar, to, I mean, you name it. We were just talking about that woman, Megan Solar Glow, who she uses the dowsing rods to like ask bunches of questions and say, yes, thank you. Like, I think she's adorable. But anyway, so we're talking about that. And I'm realizing last night, like, I not only signed up to bring my product line there because I think it's like totally appropriate for the attendees and star seeds and you name it. But I also, like a crazy person, um decided that I needed to sponsor a panel discussion which will be you, Patty Davis, and Debbie Solaris talking about what ETs can teach us in our human lives, or ways that, you know, how their teachings could benefit our lives. And then I also somehow agreed to do a live recording of the podcast. And I'm sitting there last night like, oh my God, you're insane.
How's that going to work?
I don't know, because I've never done it live, but I was thinking before I went to bed last night when, you know, like everything is uh scary and uncomfortable when you start thinking about it at night. And I was like, oh my God, this is going to be so awkward. I'm not going to be able to, you know, do it because,
Put it all together?
well, I'll do it. It'll just be one of those things where it's amazing and I can't wait for the day after it's over. But like, I don't know how I do this like in a tiny room when I record the episodes. Like, how am I going to do this in front of people?
I hear you. There's no retakes, I guess you could say.
Yeah, whatever. It's going to be weird. But I do have a link to buy tickets to the Conscious Life Expo. I'll put it in the show notes. And I think that there's going to be some pretty amazing lecturers and who knows what's going to be there. It should be crazy.
Are you there for the full, it looks like 3 days?
Yeah, the 7th through the 10th. Yes, I will
Okay, good.
be there. I'll have a booth there. Yes, educating people on hair care for sensitive people.
Oh, wow. No, I'm sure that's gonna do well. There seems to be quite a few speakers. I mean, I saw the list. It even has Debbie Solaris, and several people from actual Gaia Network, which is interesting. So yeah, it's gonna be a pretty packed list of people to listen to and experience.
Yeah, it should be interesting. I'm sure we're going to be totally fried when it's over. But anyway, so what have you been getting up to in your dual existence?
Yeah, so I just figured, hey, just worth mentioning. There's this program for kids that I found called ICU Academy, and I know ICU normally stands for intensive
Intensive care
care
units.
unit, but it's actually, in this case, it's Inspiring Children University, and it's by this woman that founded it, Nicole Farmer, in the UK of all things. But she's created this program to help children develop. I mean, for lack of a better word, their third eye, their non-physical senses, which I found completely intriguing and amazing because, the ability to cultivate your senses, your natural senses as a child, really attracted me, and it was just an amazing thing to see examples of online because the kids the kids have a full blindfold on, and someone's holding cards or different objects with different colors or numbers or characters, and these children are able to see um see it, from a mind's eye perspective without their actual physical eyes. So that was a really intriguing program. I recently signed up my daughter for, and for all the parents out there that basically deal with or experience or practice metaphysical things. This was an amazing program to find for children. And I signed my daughter up, and it was a really amazing experience.
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, obviously you told me about it too, and I signed my kids up, and it's nuts. You guys have to go online and watch the videos because there are children completely blindfolded, reading books, putting together puzzles, identif
Drawing.
drawing, identifying colors. It's so cool. And then I think you had a similar experience, but for the first class, our teacher, Diana, just sat down, remotely, obviously, with my kids, and one at a time did a kind of little energy clearing to get them to sort of access
And open up.
visualization,
Yeah.
yeah, and open up their own energy. And right out of the gate, like my 10-year-old was identifying colors like perfectly. And then my 7-year-old was saying things like, and you use like little baby picture books at first. And my 7-year-old was saying things like, "Am I on a beach? Is this a sandcastle?" And I was just like, "Yes." And like, it was crazy. And they use like it's called a mind mask, and it's like a very blackout
Oh, yeah, yeah,
um
yeah, the
eye
sleeping mask.
mask.
Yeah, yeah, it's like this thing that has foam behind the mask itself, and it completely conceals your eye area so that, it totally blacks it out, and you have no visibility. So it was just really amazing to see, same thing as you, my daughter was picking up colors and shapes, and so quickly, it blew my mind that basically what this means is children have the natural ability to do this, but we've never given them the opportunity to exercise it and try to develop it. So it was really amazing to me that it just seemed like you said, just immediate results of being able to see that.
Yeah, it was so beautiful. And one thing that I really liked about it, or about what our teacher Diana had to say about it, because I knew what my intention was going into it after you told me about it. I knew that, like, oh, I want my kids to exercise their third eye and understand that there's more than not just our physical reality. And it's something that I wish that I would have had as a child and all of that stuff. But when I asked her just candidly, like, so what is the point of this? She gave me a kind of surprising and really wonderful answer, which had to do with listening to yourself and trusting yourself, and how the way that children have access to screens now detracts from their ability to access their own instincts and trust their
What they're receiving.
instincts.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was kind of like, "Oh, wow, yeah, that is an element to it that didn't even occur to me." But all that she had to say was about, confidence and inner, like, having inner guidance.
No, agreed. And it was, like you said, just letting the child be able to, like you said, confidently express what they were receiving or getting in that moment and being able to foster that so that they trust their instincts and their own intuition. That was really huge because many times, right, when we're growing up, we might have this, we might have shown these tendencies, but we're usually shut down really early on about, oh, that's just your imagination. You're just making that up. And so it's just really great to see that. And I thought it was also interesting, and obviously it's the requirement is they ask that the children be between the ages of 5 and 12, and not because they're trying to bar anyone from the experience, but it's just the mind of at that age is still receptive and flexible and able to just receive so quickly because there has been no conditioning yet. And once you hit the age of 12 and up, apparently the child starts, left brain has engaged and has a lot of self-doubt and questioning
Ugh,
of themselves, of their experience, of the information they're receiving. And so it's a harder to trust instinct apparently by the time that age is arrived at.
yeah, that's kind of really sad that at that, like, critical point in our lives and our development that that something solidifies and
Or there's a limitation that gets, right, there's a limitation that gets put on what we'll call plasticity, which I've heard of this term used for when children are at a very young age able to access and learn different languages because at that time their mind's just flexible enough, I guess you could say. And
yeah.
that plasticity reaches a certain level of, we'll call it, um, ceasing to grow or develop at a certain age because it's just that really critical stage when a child is able to have this ability to learn many different things simultaneously at once. And if you think about the way, the program works as far as developing these senses that we normally don't develop in kids, it just makes sense to me that, yeah, you've got this really critical window of being able to achieve that. And yeah, like you said, it is kind of, I guess you could say disconcerting that, yeah, you've realized that there's a limit or a time frame that this is
Yeah.
this is achievable.
I do have to say I'm laughing because 'cause I'm remembering that on the last call that we did, my mother-in-law was in the kitchen, and she was probably like, "What the hell is she doing?" We didn't even talk about it. She's just, like, watching my kids identify colors with a blindfold on.
Oh, yeah, okay, so that's, oh, yeah, so your mother-in-law was in the other room and didn't even realize what you were doing with the kids? Oh, yeah, yeah, she probably would have thought you were crazy. What are you putting blindfolds on them for?
Yeah,
and you're
whatever.
asking them to read the book or to tell you what's on the cards. Yeah, it's not something most people would. My
Whatever.
actually my daughter actually got so excited she went to school and tried to show her friends, and her friends were all, "No." But I was surprised that she did that because, like you said, the instructor, her name's Diana Murdoch, the woman I found that's teaching this or providing this. She, like you said, she takes them through an opening sort of energetic session to get them prepared to access inward and there's a process to it. And I was surprised that my daughter felt she could just call it in on her own, which
Was
was
she
which was really amazing.
was she able to do it?
Yeah, she said that a lot of she was able to show them how it worked, and the kids were in disbelief. The kids were in disbelief, but again, she was just like excited over it and wanted to show it, and it just really goes to show you that children really have capabilities that we overlook as adults because we just, again, through the conditioning of society, we assume certain things are not possible
Yeah,
with,
well, not
at
here.
that age. Yeah, yeah.
Not in this space. Also, did you try it yet? Because I tried it, and I wanna tell you what happened.
I have not tried to see if I could do it. I haven't tried it.
Alright, well, here's a funny, very adult, uh, scenario that occurred when I tried to do it. I put the blindfold on, and I was sitting next to Abel, and I didn't know I hadn't opened any of the books. It was the little tiny board books. And I opened up a page and Abel was watching me and I'm touching it and I immediately saw a yellow tree. And so I, of course, as an adult, took it upon myself to translate that. And so I said, green. And he said, no. And then when I eventually saw it, I was flabbergasted because it was just a tree with all yellow leaves. And I was like, "Oh, wait. I I
You
saw a
did get it
yellow
right.
I saw a
Yeah,
yellow tree, but my ego
your mind
refused.
rationalized it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
my mind refused to let me say that. I was trying to analyze it in the way that I thought I was
it should
supposed
look.
to.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But I was shocked because vividly I saw this like outline of a tree.
And you
So
didn't wanna say it. You didn't wanna say yellow. It was like, can you see how much that was already like a block just because your adult mind was like, "There's no way this could be a yellow tree," but yet you received the information and you flipped it, and so that's the second guessing part that, when I spoke to the instructor, she said, yeah, she did try to teach a 12-year-old, but it took longer. She said he was finally able to trust himself, and in this case, it was a boy, but it took time. She said it's like they had to work through it much more because of the second guessing of, I think I'm getting something, but again, it's just like exactly what you explained. You want to rationalize it when you were being given very point blank, pretty obvious the right answer. You had the right answer. You had the right answer the whole time.
yeah, I was shocked about like both parts of it. How it came immediately and how I stepped right in front of it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's the problem most of us as adults have, though I haven't tried it myself. I would just say whatever I saw because I'm at that point in my life where it's like, whatever you get, man, that's it. But,
Yeah, the crazy
yeah,
part, I didn't even know I was doing it. I didn't know that I was,
you didn't realize. Yeah.
yeah, standing in my own way because in the conversation we had with the kids, it was like, say anything you see. Sometimes you see things that could represent things. And I took that information, that's very helpful information, and processed it through my adult mind and said, "Oh, this must be representing green because it's a tree and it
Yeah.
couldn't be yellow."
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty crazy.
That's pretty amazing that you were able to try that. I have not experimented with that yet. You've got me curious now to see whether I would get it or not.
Yeah, I'll look forward to your experience because it's pretty cool. All right. So, I mean, you are kind of like the spiritual detective, in terms of like finding new and interesting uh modalities and all sorts of stuff. So what else do you have up your sleeve? What else have you been getting into?
You already interviewed Phyllis Douglas, who I think is amazing. She was someone I'd found that I shared with the group. I've been working with her, and she provides Elohim frequency transmissions, and she creates these amazing, what I'll call Lemurian healing artifacts. But she also provides a frequency transmission. A lot of people may not know about that. That refers to a system that's called the Akadwa, that's been available for some time. And it's a little confusing because some people think it's a training when actually it's an actual energy transmission that she provides to you.
Mhm.
And I asked for to be given the transmission, and it's something that she can provide. And yeah, it's an interesting energy transmission that you can receive, that you can use in your own light work.
All right, so you receive the transmission. It's also my impression or my understanding that you have had 3 and that now you could potentially share this with
Yeah,
other people?
apparently, yes. It's funny because the all I can do is try to model it after what we kind of know exists, because to me this was a new, I don't even want to call it a modality because it's not like something you learn. So Reiki is a good example because there are levels to it. You go through level 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you learn how to access energy and work with energy with it through symbols, etc. The Kadwa is actually like a something that's given to you, and and once it's given to you, it becomes part of your energy field. And there's different levels of working with it. I have, like you said, received level 3. This is supposed to give me the ability to now, kind of like in Reiki, you reach a certain level where you can give attunements. You receive attunements. Maybe that's what I'll call it, is, you get an attunement with Reiki. With this, you get a transmission with Akadua, and in particular and this is going to get even wilder, with Phyllis. She received There's 7 frequencies to the Akadua. She received an 8th frequency in 2023. She calls Starfire, and she has now evolved Akadua to Starfire Quantum Energetics.
I'm just staring at you.
I'm
Yep.
trying to explain it. My left brain logical mind wants to try and explain it in a much more technical fashion, but it's like really hard.
Yeah, no, we're good. It's okay. We can accept it. But, like, this is all stuff that Phyllis has channeled or what?
Yes, absolutely. There's no level of this. She's not channeled everything she's received, all her tools, all her Lemurian tools, um, this frequency, these were all things that were channeled to her through her work, her work with the Lemurian elders. Yeah. I don't know what to say.
Okay, well, I'll ask questions now. Uh,
I'm really trying.
you're like, is that good?" Okay, so what is it like to receive one of the transmissions? Do you just sit there and she does the work?
So you put yourself in a state of receiving. And unless you work with energy, it's really difficult to explain, in the sense that she's not just here to give it to anyone. When you approach her with wanting to receive this energy, she checks in to make sure that you are able to receive this. It
I
can't be
see.
someone off the street that goes, "Hey, I want that card," or "I want this, the starfire frequency." Um,
Yeah,
but so you put yourself in a receptive state, and almost like, in Jedi fashion, she transmits it to you through the process of what I'll call an energy transference, and you can feel it just like you would. And the closest thing I can say is similar to is Reiki. because with Reiki, you can normally feel when someone is transmitting or receiving energy.
Mhm. Okay. So, how long does it last? Did she do it remotely? Are there any
Yeah,
words
so so
exchanged?
so I know it seems so simple. It was done remotely. Level 1 and 2 are done remotely. Same as with level 3, and uh, it is really just her saying, "Okay, activate, your energy, like bring it with intention into focus." And I remember with the first one, she had me lay my palms up, and then remotely energetically she put her palms over mine and I could feel the reception, and then she was like, "Okay, you got it." And so I know it just seemed like a little drop of a bucket of energy there, but then she's like, "Okay, you now, every day, do whatever you do intuitively. It is unique to each person, the way that it, we'll call it, latches into your energy or integrates into your energy. Do what you normally do as far as your energy practice, etc. But being mindful, call the frequencies in, and and in so many ways, it's almost like experiment with it, see how it feels. See if you notice any differences, because um, the Akadua level 1 and 2, it's all based on what we'll call the main frequencies, and in Akadua, these main frequencies are called solar, lunar, um, water, volcanic, obsidian. How many did I call out already? Solar, lunar, water,
5?
obsidian, atmospheric, and unnamed. Was that 7? That's supposed to be 7.
I think so.
And then now that she's evolved it to starfire frequency or starfire quantum energetics, the eighth frequency she received in 2023 is called starfire. It is a new frequency that she received
What's the
that
point?
adds to the 7. What's that?
What's the point?
These are energetic frequencies that are universal, that you can access and utilize in your energy work. It can be used for healing. It can be used for clearing. It can be used for anything. It's almost like having like known specific frequencies in your back pocket, I guess.
Yeah, that's cool. No, that's really helpful actually to look at it as kind of like a tool. And it's interesting that just last night we were on a group call and like I feel like a lot of times in these calls, which we can talk about for a second, you'll have to explain like tools are received.
Oh yes, and so now that you're going to segue into those, to the concept of energetic tools, I guess when you ask me what I've been doing, it's become so normal for me, or I guess standard in some ways, to have what we call our group calls. And our group calls are all what I call co-sessions or connexus sessions, which I've shortened to co-session, because connexus means to band together different connections collaboratively. And yeah, I really enjoy and appreciate the fact that you were able to join that particular group session, because we go through together, collaboratively as a group, to access the Akashic field and tap into different dimensions and different beings. And it's been amazing, the type of information and energy streams and tools that we receive.
Yeah, that one was probably my favorite one. And I don't know if it's because I had the most I'm sure it's because I had the most in like physical
You have the
response to it.
feels.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's sort of like being walked through a story and being able to feel the whole thing. But yeah, like I could feel all the energy shifts and crazy stuff was happening.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you have to be there, and it's hard to explain. Like I kind of feel like if we try to tell people, yeah, we do these great, cool group sessions where everybody gets together and they almost like lend their energy into this field, so we become this sort of like cohesive energy. A lot of people are going to kind of raise an eyebrow to that, but that's exactly what happens, and each and every person brings their own frequency into it, but because it's a shared frequency, everybody actually feels and receives what I call equally. And I'm really glad to hear that you felt like you got a lot of what I'll call energetic feedback, biofeedback, just from the experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's true, like, I don't actually expect anyone to understand what we're talking about because it's so weird, but it's also like, uh, if you're hearing this and if you feel like experimenting, you should totally mess around with it, like, get a group of friends together, and if one of them can access the Akasha, go in, like, that kind of
I don't know
thing.
if my I don't know yet if my formula works, or what I'll call is my recipe, works for everybody yet. I actually think it'd be kind of a cool thing if we could try to do one. Well, I mean, it wouldn't be live on the podcast, but I guess if we could go through one together, I think it'd be an interesting experiment to see what would come through, just because obviously there's the group of people doing it, but then there's also the listening audience who could in so many ways sort of participate in their own way, just through listening to the session. So I mean, it would be an interesting thing to see what, I don't even want to say what spirit would bring in, but what would the collective bring
Yeah.
just by being part of it, and actively or inactively in so many ways, or passively. We'll put it that way.
Have you ever tried to have you shared a recording with anyone who hasn't been on the call and, like a total outsider of the call? Have you ever done
No,
that and,
I
like,
mean,
felt it
I
like,
would
checked in with
I would
them?
outsider, like, usually the people that listen to it are spiritual and they're a light worker of some level. Um, I guess if you consider that, I have a niece who has listened to my early recordings. I've had somebody listen to it who wasn't part of the session, who went, "Wow, it's weird. As you were taking us through that meditative journey that you normally do, I was feeling myself go along with it." Now, I've never had someone who's like not spiritual listen to it, because I don't think it would connect. I don't think it would activate in the same way. And I'm not, but I could be wrong. I haven't tried that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, either way, they sound insane. It's great.
Yeah. Well, you've been through a couple, and I think in the beginning, people sort of feel a little bit like, "What am I supposed to do? What is supposed to be happening?" But I think it's more like if you allow yourself to open up and just kind of go through the energetic process, you will receive what is meant for you to receive in that moment. It's not like there's anything predictable, or there's any like intended, definitive outcome of it. It's just, you know, tapping into the greater, wider collective field with a group of light workers, and I think that it always produces whatever is meant to be revealed in that moment, or to unfold in that moment.
For sure. I mean, yeah. It's always very interesting. Oh, you've got, like, a beep that keeps happening on your side.
A beep?
Are you
I don't
hearing
have
it?
one.
It's like, "Boop,
Oh,
boop,
I'm sorry.
boop,
That
boop."
must have been, I apologize. Yeah. That's let me see if I can log out of that, because
You're getting,
that
like, direct messages.
okay, I signed out of it for now. Yeah.
But, what's interesting, like, on this whole entire path, I think, like, if I were to condense it into one word, the word would be intention, because the realization of the power that intention holds, it's like everything when you're talking about the non-physical reality. It is what makes it so that we can have these experiences. It's what makes it so that, like, we can enter the Akasha. It's really wild how simple it is.
And powerful, and it's almost what makes the impossible possible, because like I said, I mean, even in our co-sessions, we get the wildest information we've never even had any clue could exist. But the fact that everyone's experiencing it in that moment, I guess you could say, not generalizes it, but actually makes it so that everyone's hearing it and experiencing it, and it's not just an individualized person's, "Hey, this happened to me. Is this happening to you?" No, this is all happening at once. And I
Right.
think it's because, like you said, it's intention and, of course, the trust of being able to receive that. But yeah, no, the whole idea of intention, well, just talking about the ICU Academy stuff, again, just it's doing something that would seem impossible becomes possible because our children don't have that, you know what I'm saying, that bar or that, block. So, and in so many ways, that's, I guess you could say, that the unconscious intention of just believing that it can be possible to see without my eyes, without using my eyes.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, I mean, that kind of brings me to I've actually been experiencing, like, a lot of stuff. I feel like it's inevitable if you dedicate yourself to, exploring non-physical realms for years, crazy stuff is bound to happen, and so I actually oh, yeah, after I interviewed Todd Bryson, I finally watched his, I skipped the introductory video and went right to the advanced opening the
Oh,
Akasha
gotcha.
video,
Yeah, yeah.
and I actually really loved his instruction because all of the books that I've read on the Akasha and all the times that I've entered the Akasha previously was with using instruction like the portal prayer and like very specific, very like
Steps.
outlined rules and steps. And I think I talked to you about this before. Like it was hard for me because I didn't exactly align with the words. And so I was like, oh, is it going to be weird if I like access all of this information and I'm pushing against these words? And so what I liked about his guidance was like it was really all intention and ritual, which resonated with me a lot. Like I just go through the process of intentionally clearing each chakra and utilizing ohms as like a marker. And then, you connect with Gaia, you say, get out of here to your ego, and you bring in the light. And, you do all of these things and you attach a ritual with it. And that what just like worked great for me because it resonated. And I was trying to do it every day, but I had some totally bonkers experiences and really being dedicated to continuously sometimes plucking my ego out and putting it away because it's like, okay, very likely a story will start to unfold if you're receptive and you're sitting in the energy of the Akasha and just like waiting for something to happen. And really, I just made it my job to be like, nope, you're not going to second guess this. Just let it keep going. Like, there was one point which was really strange where I was sitting in sort of this room that I see, and I was greeted by whoever was there waiting for me, and they were really happy. And I had this thought
Wow.
like, I want to give them a gift. And then suddenly I'm giving whoever's in there, like the Akashic record keepers or whoever, um, this wooden, like a hand carved wooden box full of rose petals. And I'm experiencing it and I'm imagining it. And well, it's really hard to explain, but I'm like basically like watching this unfold. So I'm giving them this box of rose petals as a gift of gratitude for letting me experience stuff in there. And then all of a sudden, there's like this picture in the box, like folded over, like sticking out of it. And
Wow.
I'm like, oh crap. I really just wanted to be in this, like sit in here and give you a gift. And I was like, is this a picture? Am I supposed to look at this to access something? And then I start looking at the picture, and then this very specific, like, past life unfolds where it's this, um, woman with, like, a pitcher of water by by a stream, and it's all about trees and connection to nature, and I could feel this symbiotic relationship and this love and this, like, beautiful energy unfolding, and I could easily have gotten out of that meditation and said, "Oh, that was my imagination really went crazy."
Taking
Like,
in.
that's crazy that I made that up, but it is a choice and an intention to be like, "I created this space, and therefore I received this experience, and I didn't make it up." But I feel like that's kind of how it feels in the beginning when information and imagery is coming to you, like, you could easily be like,
Fall back on. Yeah.
yeah,
That
especially
it's your imagination. Oh, absolutely, because in the beginning, you're trying to make sense of the images or the information that you're receiving, and it's confusing, because it's almost like opening a funnel and just saying, "Okay, show me what just show me what's here," and it's like a huge information influx of information, and it's just not you don't have the ability to filter or if I'm going to use technology as a parallel, just like with Chat GPT, what you ask it or any of these AI generators, generative AI models, um, how you ask it is how it's going to give you the information. So if you just make some real general thing of, what is, I don't know, I guess you could say, what is nature? It give you all kinds of answers that may not be fine tuned enough for you until you learn how to ask how to fine tune that asking. So I can imagine, yeah, your first experiences were probably just like for like or like like it vomited all this information at you. Yeah.
uh yeah, that's actually really true. The first experiences before that kind of more streamlined information uh was just bonkers. Like, "Wow!" Like, all my senses were confused and everything was all sorts of stuff was coming at me. But I think one thing that I think was really important was understanding that, especially in the beginning, it's actually critical to use your imagination. Like, you have to start somewhere. Like, he talks about, like, yeah, go picture yourself in a library or start,
Whatever resonates, yeah.
yeah, start somewhere, start seeing things, and then before you know it, the lid gets blown off and it's like no longer your imagination. It's just information presenting itself and you can kind of feel the point where it takes on its own life.
Makes sense, makes sense.
So I mean it's
Because
like
yeah,
going in there, anyone trying it shouldn't be afraid to use their imagination to walk themselves through scenarios because that's like the launching point.
yeah, you need that. Absolutely. Because it's almost like you need to set the stage for the information to actually be able to present itself. And how can you do that if you can't even visualize sort of like the basics, I guess you could say, of that part of it. So no, that makes total sense what happened for you on that.
Yeah. Um, what else?
I mean, I don't know if it's a whole. I kind of feel like everything we touched on is like a different topic in and of itself. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of tough to
Oh, yeah, well, trust me, this isn't meant to be like um,
comprehensive.
a comprehensive package.
No, I know. I guess just trying to understand how people feel everything's evolving as far as the information and the access they're receiving. I mean, I guess we could kind of touch upon where people see everything going recently with the solar flares and whatnot.
Mhm. All right, well, you have to start from basics, like, what's a solar flare?
I believe those outbursts our sun have been having, what we'll call it, just kind of eruptions from the surface that sends out radiation into space that everyone's been sensitive to lately. I think that because of just the increase of the intensity and frequency of them.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I hadn't heard of a solar flare before a few years ago, and now I feel like everyone's like, "Oh, we just reached a level M, which is really intense." Like,
Yeah, it seems like some kind of trackable metric that everybody's all of a sudden interested in because of just the increase of it happening. But I mean, I know that the government's been saying something about it, or trying to give sort of like a uh, disaster scenario for some time now about how that could impact the planet and um, take out all of our
grid.
electrical systems, yeah, including communication.
Yeah.
So, it's a very real possibility. Nobody says it's gonna happen tomorrow, but hey, it's got its, possible impact on us. And of course, with this increase of that happening, of the solar flares actually happening, people are getting a little bit, I think, nervous.
Mhm.
I'm sure all the survivalists out there are letting everybody know, telling everyone that they can tell.
Yeah. Well, I'm just in this so that when we lose, power, I can text everyone telepathically instead.
Well, hey, maybe you've got to point to the ICU Academy thing for the kids needing an adult version at this point because
Yeah.
we may need to go that route. We may need to think of other ways of communicating if we don't have all our electronics and our smartphones and tablets and iPads and things that we're normally used to relying on all the time.
Yeah. Um, okay, wait, I wanna talk about something that has been crazy, and it kind of has to do with intention, but, um, something that I've been doing recently that has been having, like, immediate and strong results, and it's very weird, and it's something that I can't believe that I do. But, okay, so I think when I interviewed Phyllis, I was even like, "So, what is an angel?" And, like, you know, like, because from a Christian perspective, I was like, "Well, this is just like a magical thinking kind of thing." Like, I don't know. Um,
There was no literal aspect to it of being actually an existing.
yeah, like, how could this possibly be real?
Yeah.
So, I came to the understanding pretty quickly, and the acceptance pretty quickly, where as I spent my whole life just being, like, dismissive of that idea, and I was like, "Oh, okay, so, if God is the universal energy or the oneness or something that we're all a part of, um, and angels are just sort of the messengers or the helpers of that
With
energy."
expressions of it, yeah.
Yeah, and they can be their own entities and be an expression of God. Um, that's actually way more simple and palatable than the way that I used to look at it. So, a couple situations have arisen lately where I felt compelled to straight up say, out of the first time out of sheer frustration, "Angels, God, please help me figure this out. Please let me know that you're listening." And like there was this whole crazy story. It would take an hour to explain, but it was bonkers where basically I threw away this business card that my husband was keeping at the end of our counter for what I perceived to be too long. And I was like, well, he clearly doesn't need this. And I threw it in the recycling. And then he comes home like the next day and was like, "Hey, do you know where that business card that was at the end of the counter went?" And
Of
I was
course.
like, "Why?" And he was like, "Oh, it was really important. It was this chance encounter and I met this guy in the alley and it was this chance encounter and he's gonna it was something that was like actually really going to be important to helping his business." And I my stomach had a knot in it. I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
Of all the things, yeah, yeah.
Like, I think about the well-being of him and his business all the time, and I put, like, lots of positive energy towards it, so how could I possibly get in the way of this, right?
And tossed, yeah.
So, I'm sick to my stomach. I literally, for a week, I'm digging in the garbage cans in the alley, and I live in the city of Chicago. I touched things that you don't wanna know about. And I brought them into our, like, backyard in order to make sure that I scoured each one. Never found them. And then I was thinking, "Okay, fine, if I can't find the card, I'll figure out what the company was." And anyway, point being, when I finally had was at the end of my rope, I said, "Angels, God, please help me find this company. Like, I can't believe" whatever. And then moments later, I'm still driving, and the only, like, clues that I had about the card were that it was a Mexican last name
Oh, great.
and
Good luck.
that that it, um that it reminded him of the word Cadillac, and I was like, "What?" So I'm driving
Or like
after
rhyme with it or something?
yeah, after I asked them for help, and minutes later right next to this huge truck on the back of it, it says like Castillo Electric or Castillo something. And I was like, huh, that name really could be could fit like those categories. So I go and I pull over and I look at it and it's what I was looking for. So
Wow.
yeah.
That's
And I was like literally down to like searching the database for um you know, companies registered in Chicago and this, like I was really like trying to make up for my mistake. Um, but so then I was like, oh, that was insane. That was like instant gratification. So I started using it in other scenarios
oh, okay.
and straight up getting insane results. Like, for example, one other quick thing was I just relocated my business, um, expanded, like doubled it in size. It's a salon and spa now, whatever. The structural engineer, the architect, the contractor, and the project manager all failed to realize that in our new neighborhood, we didn't have access to phase 3 power, which is a huge oversight, like huge problem. I found this out a day after we were supposed to open. So,
Wow.
and what this means is like we don't have HVAC and we live in Chicago, which means that that's a huge problem because it gets like
Mm.
below 0 and the winters are horrifying and I'm responsible for like 12 people's lives. So, I also find out that it's going to be between 12 and 30 grand to put
Ouch.
to put up a pole, and also don't worry, it'll take like up to or at least 12 weeks. So I'm horrified,
Yeah, I mean, because it's already, yeah.
and I I start this combination of like praying and taking action, like praying out loud and taking action. So I got in touch with like our caseworker, this guy Anthony, who's maybe an angel, and he's like, okay, this is how long it takes. This is how much it's going to cost. And I'm just like flabbergasted. And I start like asking, I'm like, God, angels, can you please save me on this? Because I don't know how I'm going to get through this. I don't know how my company's going to survive. I don't know how financially this is going to work out. The next day, this guy, Anthony from ComEd, calls me and says, or he calls me really early and then sends me a text message. Sorry for the early text I have, or sorry for the early phone call. I have good news. And I'm like, I love good news. I haven't like had
Of
any
course.
in a while. So I call him right back
Yeah, yeah.
and he's like, hey, so, um, this isn't, this isn't gonna be, there's gonna be no charge. And I'm like, what?
How is that possible?
I'm crying. I'm like, yeah, exactly. How is this possible? He starts to explain. He's like, well, it doesn't matter. It's just going to be no charge to you. And I'm like, uh, thank you so much. Just like gratitude. Like I tell my business partner, she's crying. It's insane. And basically I realized that he just like had the ability to sort of like, I'm not exactly sure how it's possible or how he pulled it off, but I think he basically re sort of assigned the pole that had to go up, to recategorized it to something that was like necessary for the neighborhood or something. But
Oh,
that was
gotcha. It's like versus a business. Yeah, okay,
but
gotcha.
that was like completely up to him, and I hadn't like that's nothing you could talk someone into, right? Um and I just was like so grateful, and I made sure to be like, okay guys, I know you're listening. Thank you so much. Like this is insane. And then time's still passing and I'm still like, this needs to actually happen soon. The 12
Yeah.
weeks would crush us. And he comes in yesterday and I find out that it's completely expedited. And I said, how? I mean, I contacted my alderman, I did everything within my power, but no one ever said, oh yeah, we got this expedited. In fact, someone from my alderman's office called me and said, um, I can't do anything. I tried. And he said, when I told him this, he was like, oh, that's weird because it's fully like on the top of like it's everyone's priority. And I'm just like, okay, fine.
Yeah, that's the second time around, man. I mean, you just like you first one you might call it a fluke. Second time though, it's like, yeah.
Yeah, no, because I've honestly been doing it with everything, and also I've been telling people about it, and it's been having insane. I mean, it seems hilarious to me now that I'm like, did you know that praying is productive? Like, I'm like just making this huge discovery that everyone's known forever. Like, shut up. But it's very hilarious to me, and I do think that there is a component of it where it's like, don't freak out, stay in a high vibration, like crazy things. Like, really, if you look at it, like, so many negative things have been happening to me, like, over, like, I'm like, oh God, the hits keep coming. But instead of choosing to be like, oh, I can't believe it, I'm bummed, I'm like, no, there's a positive reason for each one of
Oh,
these
absolutely.
weird ass little things that keep happening to me, even throwing away the business card, even, you know,
Yeah.
and I've just been like staying looking for the positive of every single thing. And it's like, each time I'm, like, rewarded with the most insane,
Outcome.
unfathomable
Yeah.
outcome. So I felt like I really needed to share that, and I do think that there's a component about saying it out loud. I don't know why, but it seems to be, like, mega productive, and then
Because it's the frequency of it's the frequency of your voice going out into the universe, and we all have impact through that, whether we like it or not. No different how if you're talking to someone, how you deliver that message, affects the reception of that message. And so even when you're speaking to the universe, I mean, that's you putting that instruction out there and it's being received. And I think a lot of people don't realize how much impact that really has. And I think it's amazing that you're experiencing that because I think there's a part of you that's kind of incredulous and going, how could that be? But
Yep.
I mean, but you did it and it produced something. So yeah, it doesn't feel like coincidence at all. I mean, yeah.
No, and I mean, I just that's the tip of the iceberg. There's been so many, and I won't bore you guys with the stories, but, uh, if you're if you're ever in the mood, I highly recommend it because it's insane, and I also think like, for me, I feel like it's been really important to also say, like, "Whoa, thank you. You're showing me that you're listening. I want you to know that I'm listening and I'm seeing this and I'm acknowledging it as that you're listening, and it's insane."
And you just touched upon a point that I do feel really a lot of us miss is the gratitude piece, and that is actually being able to express that openly and unconditionally. And I think a lot of people don't do that enough. And I know we've heard of gratitude journals and we've heard of giving gratitude in I'll say a much more perfunctory way, but I mean really sitting there in whatever meditative silence you are and really expressing that sincerely with yourself, even if no one's in the room.
Yeah.
I think it makes such a huge difference. Just if anything, giving gratitude openly, just in that way. And I think in your case, it's like, hey, I notice and I see these things, these changes, these things that were impossible that all of a sudden seem to materialize or become reality for me. It's giving that gratitude at the same time so that it continues that energy and that frequency and stays with you. I mean, that's to make it stick. Let's put it that way. I
Yeah.
think that's a big thing too.
No, because 'cause I've been straight up feeling like I am everything's insane, and somehow I'm on a roll of experiencing miracles, and I'm like, "What? This is unbelievable." And I'm gonna say something that is somewhat embarrassing, but, who cares? We're all friends here. Part of what I did before I found out that for no apparent reason, this was now free and expedited, um, and nobody knows why. Um, I did a lot of singing, and I don't know why I was inspired to do this, but I just followed my curiosity, and there was, like, a couple days right before I found out that positive news that I walked around, like, preemptively singing, um, essentially, "Thank you for answering my prayers. Thank you for hearing me." And I just sang it on a loop, walking around my house, in the shower, whatever. And I really do think what you were saying about the intention in conjunction with the vibration of actually letting it out of your
Expressing,
head,
yeah,
because most people pray silently,
yes, agreed.
but if you wanna double down, just say your shit out loud.
Yeah, yeah. No,
'Cause
absolutely, absolutely. Even in my meditations lately, I mean, as long as if you feel comfortable, by yourself, I've been doing I say certain affirmations for myself and and they're not just the textbook affirmations. This is like, I align my third eye to the universal third eye of unity field consciousness and all this kind of stuff. And it's like it has impact. I don't think people really realize how much impact their words have, especially when you're setting intention and in a higher vibration. It's huge. So I that's amazing that you experienced that. I'm like, wow. Definitely, if you're trying to solve problems or get through challenging moments, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't cost anything. So, yeah, I mean, might as
Yeah.
well.
Might save you 30 grand.
Yeah, exactly. Well, in their case, there was a real dollar figure to that. So I am amazed.
Uh,
That is awe-inspiring.
yeah, but I even had a friend recently where I was like, "Okay, dude, you're not gonna be like you're gonna think I'm weird, but I know that I'm safe talking to you, but this is what I've been doing, and maybe you wanna try it." She texts me a couple days later. She's like, "Holy shit, the angels worked." And, like,
Wow.
yeah, big stuff for her too, and
Confirmation, big
I was
time.
like, "Just saying." So, I really wanted to share that with everybody because, like, okay, first of all, what do you have to lose? I mean, your neighbors probably already think you're nuts. So what? Who cares?
No, but like you said, I think there's been a tradition of prayer that already exists for mankind that's been there for centuries, if not hundreds of thousands of years. But um, I think the separation or the disconnect happened when we were praying just for the sake of praying versus praying with true intention. And I think that's what happens when you have a religious system that tells you you have to do something. You lose the level of intention, so now it becomes just a routine that you kind of
Yeah,
do mindlessly. What's that going to produce? But
right.
versus if you really in your heart feel something and you say that out loud with conviction, that's a whole other level, and I think that that's the part that's been lost, but the prayer's always been there. It's just how you're doing it and why.
Yeah,
What's
totally.
what are you trying what are you after? So, yeah.
I know, I do think it's freaking hilarious that I'm coming on here trying to explain to people that I discovered praying.
Well, I mean,
I gotta tell you
I
about
think
this
I
thing.
no, but I think again, it's separating what the traditional definition of prayer is versus actually vocalizing out your intention to the universe, which to me feels different even in saying that, "Oh, well, I pray." Well, that could just lead to so many preconceptions about what praying is versus, I say out loud what I intend or my intentions out to the universe. Totally, in my mind, is different, even though they are the same essentially. But yeah,
Yeah,
there's a different meaning behind it, and I think that's the key. And I think that's what you've discovered is it's not about praying just because somebody's wagging a finger at you and telling you you need to. That's because you felt the need and you had a call for help or support, and that call for help was answered. That's different
yeah,
in my mind anyway.
yeah. Cool. Well, I'm I'm happy that we got to share that
No,
stuff.
absolutely, and I think it's a simple but a really strong message, and I think that's everything when you can do that because most people are looking for something that they can do maybe in their daily lives, and it doesn't hurt, like you said.
Yeah. I mean, you can do it in your car, like, anywhere you want. Alright, I feel like we should button this up. This has
No,
been
agreed.
very fun, and now we're gonna have, like, a lot of people talking to angels out loud with very psychic children, so I think we've done our
No,
work.
absolutely. So I think we covered the range between us adults and the kids, and yeah, I'm gonna keep on experimenting, and I'm gonna try that what you did. I haven't even thought of doing that, so I'm gonna give that a shot and see
Yeah.
see how that turns out for me.
I thought for sure based on, like, how she presented it that I was not gonna get anything because I'm, like, just like a rusty old adult with
Or the old nail.
yeah, but
No,
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 I think
no,
you
I agree. But again, hey, never wanna limit yourself with whatever someone defines or says because, as we already know, like you said, just intention,
yeah,
open yourself up, so
yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. It has been super fun. And don't forget, everybody, that you should totally come see us at the Conscious Life Expo. We're doing a panel with Patty Davis and Debbie Solaris and Vera and myself. It's going to be super fun. And I'll add a link for tickets so you can check out the expo and come, meet all us weirdos.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I blocked it out of my mind since it's not until February, but I'm like, oh yeah, it is coming up. Huh, shoot. Okay, I guess gotta
I
be
know.
ready for that.
God, I know. I'm like, oh,
Time went by so fast.
it's far enough away that I don't have to think about it, but not really.
Yep, hear you.
All right, well, that's going to be fun, but thank you so much for coming on again. And I'm sure we will check back in because you are like always discovering new things. Yes, pushing
the boundaries.
discovering
Pushing the
things
boundaries.
at light speed.
Yeah, no, I'm really glad we got a chance to catch up. It's always good talking to you. Thank you so much, Kiki. I'm just always grateful to you and everything you do.
Same here, boss. Thanks so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed today's conversation as much as we did. Be sure to subscribe and follow us wherever you get your podcasts so that you never miss a new episode. If you liked today's episode, please consider leaving a review to help the other psychics find their way here.